So last Sunday, in my sermon on grief, I had a point of disagreement with the Buddha, never a wise thing to do. And afterwards, some of you took issue with my disagreement, suggesting that there was maybe not really a conflict between what I was saying and what the Buddha would be saying, properly understood. And I am super open to that possibility. So to make amends to the Buddha, I offer you a different Buddha story today. This one was lifted by UU minister, This one was lifted up. This story was lifted up by UU minister and professor Dr. Susan Ritchie in her 2018 Earth Day sermon. So the story is that Siddhartha Gautama, the man who became the Buddha, or the enlightened one, had exhausted every false path on his quest for enlightenment. But he'd had a breakthrough that the true path would be a middle way between the earthly pleasures that he grew up in as a prince and the very severe path of renunciation that he had walked as a wandering holy man. And he sensed that enlightenment was very close to him. So he sat down at the base of the Bodhi tree, and he made a vow that he would not rise until he had achieved enlightenment. And there he remained meditating for 49 days. Now the demon Mara sensed that Siddhartha was very close to enlightenment, and he did not want this to happen, and he did not want the Buddha to bring peace to all human beings. So throughout the course of the Buddha's long meditation, Mara tempts and torments Siddhartha in different ways to try and drive him off the path. And at the climax of the story, Mara raises an army of demons who encircle the tree, and they kind of move in, threatening Siddhartha. And Mara demands to know who will witness to the Buddha's right to be there. And Siddhartha, in response, reaches out with a single hand, and he just lays it on the earth. And the demon army melts away, and Mara gives up in defeat. And the earth resonates with the power of the Buddha. And when the sun rises in the morning, Siddhartha has achieved enlightenment and become the Buddha. And this is why you will see many popular statues of the Buddha show him with one hand out, touching the earth, which sustains him and protects him at his moment of greatest danger. So today, April 22nd, is Earth Day, of course. Day of eco-awareness created in 1970 by Senator Gaylord Nelson, both to honor our planet and to recognize the increasing stresses and strains that humanity is placing on it. Of course, in the almost 50 years since the original Earth Day, the negative impact of our unsustainable global economic practices has just increased those strains even more severely. We understand even better how grave and threatening are the long-term consequences of global warming and ecosystem disruption. So we need to make significant changes now, more than ever, if we are even to have a chance of healing our Earth. We must stop, or at least dramatically slow, the rate of harm so that our Earth can heal herself. But I tell the Buddha story because I wanted to acknowledge first, in gratitude, that many of us experience the earth as healing us. We experience nature as a grounding and healing and sustaining force in our lives. The earth that heals us is in need of healing. A woman I know once told me that she likes to start every morning by pressing her body against the earth, not as prostration, but as a kind of hug, feeling the earth's support of her and its stabilizing energy and expressing her love in return. Now, she lived in northern Indiana, so I'm assuming this was a seasonal practice, but I don't know. But it's a good practice. We would do well to start every day with a few words of gratitude for our earth. And it can be as simple as touching our hand to the ground and saying thank you, like the Buddha. If you pray, you can pray, may my words and deeds today bring me into greater loving relationship with our Mother Earth. And may I walk upon her with humility, gratitude, and great care. And you can enter the day with that spirit. These ecological values, that our relationship with nature and all living things should be characterized by humility, gratitude, and great care. These ecological values run deep through Unitarian Universalism. Our seventh principle calls us to have respect for the interdependent web of life. Individually, we ground this principle in different ways, depending on our own theological orientation. Right? Our scientific humanist tradition emphasizes that all life grows out of the same natural processes of cosmic creation and evolution, that all living things are literally kin and worthy of our respect and wonder. Our theist tradition sees a god or goddess or spirit of life that is present in all things and cares for all things and loves all things. And our pagan and earth-centered traditions also see spirit in all things and remind us of the necessity to live in balance with the forces of life and creation. Remember the circle of the sky, the stars and the brown eagle, the supernatural winds breathing night and day. From the four directions, remember the sacredness of things. In contrast, our runaway consumer culture sees the earth and other living things as a mere resource, a commercial tool, a means of meeting our immediate needs. The Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Fred Small, one of the leading climate activists in our country, sums it up this way. Every religious tradition, he says, teaches awe of creation, yet we desecrate it. Every religious tradition teaches temperance in sensation and material things, yet we pursue them addictively, vainly hoping to fill our spiritual emptiness. Every religious tradition forbids theft, yet every day that we live unsustainably, we steal from our children and our children's children. To which our seventh principle says, remember the sacredness of things. Remember our interrelatedness and our interdependence with nature, of whose creative powers we are but one beautiful expression among so much beauty, an ocean of beauty, a riot of color and beauty. Remember to walk upon our earth with humility, gratitude, and great care. This congregation has a long tradition of seeking to live out these ideals, going back to its first year on this campus. In the first year, the founding members celebrated Earth Day by planting trees all around UUI. This is appropriate because Earth Day is intended to be a day of action. Yes, reflection, but also action. The very first Earth Day brought some 20 million people out into the streets for peaceful demonstrations, which helped push the Nixon administration into founding the Environmental Protection Agency and passing the Clean Air Act. So Earth Day is proof that people can make a difference and that change is possible. But the very enormity of the problem we are facing can be paralyzing. It can discourage action. The problem seems so big and so intractable we don't know where to start. So I want today to hold up UUI as a place where you can begin to get educated and involved if you're new to thinking and living sustainably, or where you can go deeper if you're already doing the work and looking to make a bigger commitment. This congregation is a certified green sanctuary by the Unitarian Universalist Association, which is a designation given to congregations that have gone through a specified process of discernment, of spiritual discernment, of education, which then commit to live out environmentally sustainable and ecological lives. And I want to hold up a few things that our green team has done in the process and different ways that we live out our seventh principle here at UUI. Of course, we brought recycling to our UUI campus. That's a no-brainer. But just a reminder, we don't only recycle paper and plastic, but in the social hall we collect many kinds of difficult to dispose of toxic recyclables like ink cartridges and cell phones and batteries and all of that stuff. There's a recycling area behind the membership table. If you haven't seen it, check it out, see what all we can accept and safely dispose of for you. And I want to hold up Jeanette Rowe in particular, who has done great work in managing that program. Every year we get together with people in the neighborhood and we do a day-long Butler-Tarkington Alley cleanup to clean and beautify our community. This year's cleanup was just last weekend, and 20-plus adults and children from UUI and the neighborhood got together and did that work, so that's a beautiful thing. The sustainability team, the green team, has done an amazing job of creating a more energy-efficient campus here at UUI, and you know that because if you look in the cottage, we're sitting there going like this, trying to keep the lights on while we have our meeting, because they have installed motion-detecting sensors all over this campus for light and energy efficiency, and it's beautiful, and they have sealed and insulated everything that can possibly be sealed and insulated, swapped out appliances, replaced the HVAC with high-intensity units. You might remember in 2015, we replaced every halogen light bulb in this sanctuary with low-watt LED bulbs. It cut the energy that it takes to light this place by 80%. We had to raise a lot of money to do that. You all gave very generously, and then we had to put ladders all over the place, and adults and kids were kind of swapping out all these bulbs. It took all day. It was a big project, and it was a beautiful thing. A big part of the work that the Green Sanctuary team does is educational. UUI practices sustainability here on this campus, but we also teach people how to bring those practices into our home. I remember one Sunday, the Green team brought students from Butler into the social hall, and they had laptops, and they went all around the social hall interviewing people, and you could do right on the spot a sustainability audit, where they ask you about all of your lifestyle practices. And that was where I learned, much to my chagrin, that it would take 6 Earths if everyone were to live in the manner in which I live. That was eye-opening and humbling, and told me that I had a lot of work to do. And at the same time, UUI has been helping sign members up for home energy audits. People will come out to your home, audit your usage, make recommendations. 30 families did that in 2017. More have done it in years past. UUI has also helped publicize the option to purchase a so-called green energy through your power company so that the energy you use is green. It costs a little bit more, but produces less carbon and pollution, and so far more than 50 UUI families have taken advantage of that. You might look into that option for your family if you haven't. And I'm sure that the sustainability team would be happy to talk to you about any questions you might have for tips or tricks that you can make your lifestyle more energy efficient. And if you want to be a part of that work, you can just watch the e-blast for when the team is meeting next and come and check it out. UUI was also instrumental in founding a group called Indy Green Congregations, which is a group of local congregations that teaches and promotes sustainability practices at other congregations throughout Indiana. So we take this show on the road, right? We go out and we talk to other congregations about ways that they could be doing this same thing. You can go to the website, indygreencongregations.org. There is an amazing amount of information there about how to live more sustainably. You can sign up for their newsletter. And through our own efforts and through Indy Green Congregation, UUI has really become a respected leader in teaching green practices to other churches and other congregations. And behind that respect is your commitment, all of your commitment to UUI living out its green values. Ray Wilson shared with me that when he tells other congregations about your commitment to solar energy and what we were able to raise together in just a few months to fund the solar installation out there that has transformed this campus, they are blown away. They are blown away by what you achieved. So you are serving as an inspiration and a challenge to other communities here in Indianapolis, and you are showing people what is possible. And I'm thrilled to report that as of April 9th, our new solar panels were live and generating electricity, and with the exception of the Commons, which is on its own grid, we will be a 100% solar-powered campus. So you did that, and it wasn't easy, and I am proud to be part of a community that does difficult things because it can imagine a better future for all of us and wants to be a part of making it happen because those are our values. I hope you are proud of that too. As part of that commitment to education, I also want to point out that UUI is hosting the first of a series of UU-Indy events. The first is May 10th at 7 p.m. If you're curious about going solar in your own home, you can come to this event. They will teach you all about it, and there will be vendors there that can help you make it happen. So look for more info about that. This congregation has also gotten engaged on many important policy issues that impact our environment. You'll see us at city council meetings. You'll see us meeting and talking to local officials. You'll see us at rallies, advocating for smart and sustainable energy policies and against harmful practices. And there's a lot of work to be done there. Because of our reliance on coal, Indiana has just an absolutely enormous carbon footprint for just a tiny state. Which means, lucky you, just by virtue of living in Indiana, you are positioned to make a huge difference through your advocacy for cleaner energy policy. This is an opportunity for you. And sometimes our environmental commitment is expressed in very direct action, and I want to hold this up. In 2016, the Crown Hill Cemetery sold a piece of land containing old-growth urban forest to the VA, and they wanted to take that land and put up a memorial site for soldiers. Not a bad thing, but it would involve tearing down that old-growth forest. So members of UUI resurrected the Alliance for Crown Hill Neighbors, asking not to block the memorial, but just to move it to the fields right next door where there were no old-growth forests. And the VA and Crown Hill said, no, we're not going to move it. So that started a very long process of advocacy and education and going to officials and lobbying and suing and all of the different things that you try to do to block that kind of damaging development. Well, the sale went through anyway, despite all of these efforts, including our own Board of Trustees passing a resolution to support it. And the day that the VA contractors were preparing to begin cutting down the forests, a group of youth and adults, including members of UUI, who called themselves the Protectors, went onto the property and they physically interposed themselves between the machinery and the trees, refusing to leave. Just like the Amrita story, they put their bodies between the machines and the trees. And I remember that day, it was freezing. A call went out for people from UUI to please drop off blankets so that the protesters would have some warmth, which people did. And it worked. The VA was stymied by this direct action. They called off the bulldozers. And in the space of time that was created by that period of delay, Senator Donnelly was able to sort of get the different parties in the room together and say, fix this. And they decided that the memorial would be built on the patch of land where there were no trees. And it was a great demonstration of what a committed group of people can do when they stand by their values. It required a lot of dedication and perseverance and courage, but it saved the forests. I really want to honor the people who did that and took that risk. There are many paths by which we can be healers of our earth. Many actions we can take, big or small, many ways we can get involved. I'm proud that UUI is a place that helps people all over Indiana take those steps. I want to return to the idea that one of the steps to healing our earth is healing our own relationship with the interdependent web. Learning how to unlearn the lessons taught to us by that consumer culture which places our needs at the center of all things. And instead challenge us to learn a new ethic of humility and gratitude and great care. Waiting for us on the other side of this new relationship is a greater sense of peace and wonder in our lives. The great environmental activist Rachel Carson, also a Unitarian, author of Silent Spring and founder of the modern ecology movement, began her life as a naturalist studying and writing about the ocean. And her commitment to the interdependent web was fueled by her deep sense of wonder. And at the end of her life, it was this sense of wonder that she most sought to protect for people. In her last book, which was published after she died, called The Age of Wonder, she wrote, "It is our misfortune that for most of us, that clear-eyed vision, that true instinct for what is beautiful and awe-inspiring, is dimmed and even lost before we reach adulthood." Carson understood that we can reclaim that sense of wonder by connecting to our earth. And that part of healing our earth is indeed reclaiming our individual sense of wonder. So in that spirit, I want to invite up Heliene Houdek from our sustainability team, and she's going to close out this service with an Earth Day challenge. Heliene?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Jamie. Today is Earth Day. How very fortunate we are to be able to be in this sanctuary and see some of the trees and birds of Indiana against the sky surrounding us on this beautiful morning. Although I grew up in a city, Flint, Michigan, as a child I was extremely fortunate to spend several weeks each summer with my family in a 2-room cabin in Missaukee County. From the age of 7, I was allowed to roam the woods as much as I desired, sometimes missing lunch, gathering various leaves, nuts, and so forth that relatives helped me identify. So this morning, a special challenge for me was to see how still I could be so as not to scare away a deer. This freedom resulted in a phenomenon I later found best described by John Muir. He said, "Between every 2 pine trees, there is a door leading to a new way of life." So on this Earth Day, I invite each of you to wander for a while. Choose a nearby park, Holiday, or Marat, or the UUI grounds, or any other special green place you desire. Silence your phones and observe what you see and hear. If you can identify the wildflowers, trees, or birds, that's great. If not, simply enjoy the beauty. Look around and get to know the natural world, and it will reward you with wonder. Nature is designed to attract you, to urge you to care for her. And care for her we must. We are her hope to retain her diversity and beauty.
Blessed be and amen.